This early color film, taken in July 1937, shows one of Japan's most sacred festivals, the Tenjin Matsuri. It is less than 70 years since the emperor was restored to power, and Japan began to transform itself from an isolated feudal state into Asia's greatest power. But lying beneath this rush to modernity is a deep-seated fear of Western domination. Tokyo, Japan's capital, is now one of the world's largest cities. It is the heart of an empire that already includes Taiwan and Korea. Journalist Shiro Iwata.
Today's Japan should not confine itself to its own small sphere, nor should it remain in its position in the Orient. Japan bears the burden of a global mission. It should advance to lead the entire world.
Japan is Asia's first industrialized nation. In 1937, Nissan unveils its first luxury car, the six-cylinder Datsun Model 70. There are plans to export them abroad for the first time to Australia. They have a new slogan: Datsun is the car and the rising sun is the flag. With its newly found international status, Japan has also to face the world's problems. The recent global depression, begun by the Wall Street crash in the United States, has caused widespread poverty and a climate of political extremism. 22-year-old farmer's son, Tadashi Konuma.
How can we farmers survive? We have to borrow money from loan sharks who demand such high interest. Those who work so hard to grow the rice cannot afford to eat it. Japan is becoming an unworthy country in which to live. So, I was determined to devote myself to revolution.
Konuma joins an extremist group, the Blood Brothers, and in a Tokyo street shoots dead a government minister. Japan's courtship with parliamentary government begins to turn sour. A wave of political assassinations and attempted coup forced the Japanese into the arms of extreme militarists. Liberal politician Korakio Takahashi.
If you say anything bad about the army, then the military police rattle their swords or point a gun or threaten you. When a newspaper publisher in Kyushu wrote something bad about the army, they threatened him by having an airplane circle his factory and said they would bomb it.
As the militarists strengthen their grip on the reins of power, Takahashi is assassinated. (18th of March, 1937). Emperor Hirohito's younger brother, Prince Chichibu, leaves Japan for Europe. One of his aides records the journey on color film. This is the first time it has been shown. The prince's first stop is London, to represent the emperor at the coronation of King George VI. Allies in the First World War, Japan and Britain are now imperial rivals in the Far East. MP Winston Churchill.
I have often written about Germany rearming. Let us gaze for a moment at Japan. Here again is a nation imbued with dreams of war and conquest, where every voice of moderation is silenced by death.
The coronation celebrations include a Royal Naval Review at Spithead, off the coast at Portsmouth. The Imperial Japanese Navy is represented by the cruiser Ashigara. Lieutenant Commander Tota Ishimaru.
Unless either Japan stops the policy of expansion, or unless Britain abandons her policy of the preservation of the status quo, an Anglo-Japanese war is not the dream of a fool. Wake up, people of Britain. Times have changed. You cannot go on as you have done in the past.
Prince Chichibu continues his European tour with a holiday in Switzerland. Japan has recently signed an anti-Soviet pact with Nazi Germany. The government in Tokyo instructs the prince to break his holiday to meet Japan's newest ally. In September, Prince Chichibu arrives in Germany and is shown every honor by his Nazi hosts. He is invited to attend the annual Nuremberg rally and to meet the Nazi Führer himself. At a reception for the Japanese ambassador, Adolf Hitler.
The German people bring to the great Japanese nation its unbounded admiration. I am glad to be able to state that on the basis of a unity of spirit, the relations of our two nations have been marked by sincere friendship.
Japan now has its own fascist party, led by Sego Nakano.
Hitler is a man of firm will and sincerity. Not a single word he utters is vulgar. He is a hero that rose from the defeated Germany. To achieve a new world order, Japan has to maintain the pact with Germany, who shares our frustrations.
Just as Germany craves control of Europe, Japan wants to dominate Asia. The question is, can this be done by peaceful means or by war? China, Japan's huge neighbor on mainland Asia. To protect their interests, the Japanese have had a military presence here since before the First World War. But now they want more. In 1931, Chinese troops had been attacked by radical elements of the Japanese army. They had seized the province of Manchuria against the wishes of the liberal government in Tokyo. Leader of the rebels, Colonel Kanji Ishiwara.
Let the government do what they will. The army is going to carry out this sacred mission to save China. The last war in human history is approaching. A titanic world conflict, which will be the gateway to a golden age of human culture. The only way for Asia
is to advance together.
Right-wing militarists now dominate the government in Tokyo. In July 1937, an incident between Japanese and Chinese troops outside Peking leads to war. The High Command sends reinforcements to China. Thousands of men between the ages of 20 and 40 are called up to fight. The government promises the war will be won in a month. Tora Yoshida.
When I arrived, the brass band was playing, and people were shouting, "Banzai." I told my daughter, "Don't cry. Wipe away your tears now. See your father off with a smile." I knew that if I showed my tears, it would only give more pain to my husband.
A group of Japanese businessmen tours Shanghai, the empire's newest conquest. One of them films it in color. The film has lain hidden for 65 years. This is the first time it has been seen. After almost 6 months of war, most of eastern China is now in Japanese hands. The fighting has been fierce and brutal. As many as 20,000 Japanese soldiers have already been killed, and over 250,000 Chinese. The diary of Private Shiro Azuma.
7,000 prisoners, all in one place. I thought, how could they become prisoners without even trying to show any resistance? They looked like a bunch of homeless people with vacant expressions on their faces. It felt quite foolish to think we had been fighting to the death against these ignorant slaves.
On December the 13th, 1937, the news is announced that the Chinese capital, Nanking, has fallen. Children all over Japan are given time off school to celebrate. Journalist Shingaro Takaeshi.
I am proud of our Japanese soldiers. I am positive that they will not act in a repulsive manner against civilians. There may be pictures showing inhuman acts committed by Japanese soldiers, but it is improbable that what they represent is true.
Tadanobu Korosu of the 19th Infantry Regiment in China records a different story.
5,000 prisoners were taken to the Yangtze River to be executed by machine guns. Bayonets were used to finish them off. I felt a demonic excitement as I climbed up the pile of bodies and stopped them. There were soldiers, old, young, and children. I have never felt anything like it in my life.
Government censorship in Japan prevents any mention of incidents like the rape of Nanking. For them, the war is not a conquest, but a liberation.